BookTube. So I was tagged by the lovely Shannon Riddler to do the Road So Far book tag, which we both kind of called the Supernatural tag because, if you are aware, at the beginning of some Supernatural episodes, they do a like flashback, kind of like, here's what's happened in the past, and it says the road so far. So yeah, the questions aren't actually Supernatural based, but I decided to wear my Supernatural shirt, my flannel, my little Talking to God necklace, and my Supernatural ring to kind of, you know, embody Supernatural here a bit. And if you are not new to my channel, you're going to notice kind of like a change in how things are done here. New background, I'm standing, so I move around a lot. That's just, I'm kind of like that kind of person in real life, you know, I'm always on the move. And everything's going to be unscripted and unedited because there's just not as much time in the day as there was before. I swear, like, there's not 24 hours in a day for me anymore. It feels like there's like 20, 19, 18. So I don't know where all the time's going, but I started a new job. That's why I'm all like, don't have a lot of time for things now. But I really love making BookTube videos and I want to keep doing it. I just gonna have to change a bit. So enough rambling because I'm not gonna edit. And I'm not scripted, so let's see where we go. If you could pick a fictional world to live in, what world would you choose and why? I'm gonna go with, see, that's the problem, is that in a lot of fantasy worlds and stuff, there's a lot of danger, and I want to go somewhere where I'm, like, gonna be kind of safe, you know, I'm not gonna end up starving to death because our ruler is a jerk. So, I'm going to say Discworld. I think Discworld is a relatively safe place. Relatively. And there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of cool stuff. You're kind of like traveling through space at the same time. So yeah, I think I'd like to explore Discworld. I would be like, I'm horrible with names. The tourist from the first two books, going around and being like, ooh, what's this? Here, have a lot of money. Yeah. Except I'm cheap, so I probably would be like, here, have a lot of money. Question 2. What solo book and or book series surprised you the most? I think my first Stephen King book was Mr. Mercedes, and I kind of had this notion in my head that Stephen King was kind of like a hack writer. Like, you know, he's putting out so much stuff, his stuff can't be good, right? And I was looking for an easy to listen to audiobook, and I came across Mr. Mercedes, and I was just kind of like, let's give it a shot. And that really surprised me how good it was. And that sent me off on a journey to discover more Stephen King. And I know his stuff is hit and miss, but everything I've read so far, which is just the Mr. Mercedes series, there's 3 books in there, and It, which is now one of my all-time favorite books. You know, I'm really excited to read more Stephen King now. Question 3. You can pick one author to meet. Who would you choose and why? That's a really hard question. I'm looking at my shelves to kind of get... I would love to meet Kurt Vonnegut. I just think he seems like a really fun person. And that's the answer I'm going with. Fun person, Kurt Vonnegut. He seems like a really snarky person, too, and I really enjoy, like, that kind of attitude. Like, I don't want anyone, like, really sweet. However, like, I like sweet people, but I'd rather engage in a conversation with someone who's kind of, like, snarky and stuff like that, so, yeah. Question 4. If you could only ever read one genre of book for the rest of your life, what genre would you choose and why? And I hate you for doing this, but if I absolutely had to choose, I would go with science fiction. I think science fiction has enough variety in it that I'd be happy with it, because when I think of science fiction, I think of authors like Kurt Vonnegut and Aldous Huxley, and I think like post-apocalyptic novels I kind of associate as science fiction as well. So you'd have everything from like spaceships to post-apocalyptic to like just weird things happening in everyday life kind of stuff. So I think there's enough in science fiction as opposed to just kind of like limiting yourself to something very kind of that relies on kind of tropes and stuff like that. That would get boring after a while. Um, Question 5. What genre do you rarely read but wish you read more of? I don't think I rarely read anything that I want to read more of. Like I never read romance because I identify as aromantic and would not want, like, there's nothing about it that appeals to me. So I don't want to read more romance. I'd like to say I'd like to read more drama. I read a lot of drama in, what month was it? March. And I really enjoyed what I did read. So I'd like to read more drama. Not that I haven't read a lot of drama, but recently I haven't read a lot of drama, and I'd like to get back into it. That makes sense, hopefully. Question 6. What is the most intimidating book or book series you're too nervous to begin? I'm not really, like, that's not something that really kind of happens to me, that I get nervous to start a book. Because if I want to read it, I want to read it, right? Like, I'd have to say, while I was reading Malazan, I was a bit nervous that maybe I wasn't starting in the right point. Like, I started at book 1, but because of the way the book is, it kind of like, it just drops you in. There's no explanation of anything. Like, you have to pick things up as you're going along. Like, the character's already established, the world is already established, you're just along for the ride. Like, it's like you get dropped on a train, you have no idea where you are, the people around you seem to know each other, and you just kind of gotta go with the flow, go along for the ride, because, you know, you can't get off. So that was kind of intimidating at first, because I thought maybe I was missing a book or something, but eventually I realized, okay, this is what he's doing, so, you know, I gotta pay attention and go with it. Question 7. If you had to recommend one book and or book series above all others, what would that be? And the way I'm gonna approach this question is not like you're looking for a book that you would like, but that you're looking for a book that kind of shows what I like in a book, if that makes sense. Like, if I'm recommending a book to someone, I'm not going to necessarily give them my favorite book, because not everyone's going to like it, right? And I know that it's not a book for everyone. But if you're, like, interested in getting to know me better and getting to know what I like better, the book I would recommend is Gould's Book of Fish by Richard Flanagan, because I think it has it has everything that I love in a book. It has some really weird writing techniques, it has a really weird plot, but it also talks about important issues like colonialism and relationships and slavery, and, like, it's just all around a good book. So that's how I'd recommend. If you're just asking for a recommendation, don't want to tell me what you want, I'm gonna go tell you to read that. Question 8, and the last question. What are your reading plans and booktube plans for the next 6 months? I kind of rambled at the beginning of this video about, you know, this new kind of format that I'm trying out, and my videos are going to be longer, and I know I'm going to be a hypocrite because I complain about long videos all the time, but I get it now. I get it. Like, you can't always edit your videos down, and I ramble a lot. So my booktube plans are just kind of 2 to 3 videos a week, like 2 kind of planned videos, and then a Friday reads are my current plans. We'll see how that goes. Reading plans are just kind of, I was trying to do something called Catch Up May, where I was reading a bunch of the bigger books that I kind of set aside, and I'm now realizing that, like, I don't have a lot of time to devote to really big books right now. I just started a new job. I was previously working at a job where I could read all I wanted. I could sit there and read, do whatever I wanted. I felt like I had more time at the end of my day to read and do stuff. But now I'm working just like a plain 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And, like, I was like, oh, I should have more time. And there's something that happens when you work 9 to 5 that just, like, the time just disappears. Like, it's already 6:30. I was like, what happened to my day? Like, what can I do for the rest of the evening? I don't know. So yeah, so I decided to tackle some normal sized books. So all the books I was reading were over 700 pages. And I decided I can't do that right now. I want to feel more accomplished in what I'm reading, if that makes sense. I want to see the progress as opposed to like reading 50 pages and it doesn't feel like I've read anything because the book is like 800 pages long. Yeah, so that's my current reading plans. I'm still just unwrapping books, so I don't know what I'm going to read next. I think I unwrapped Slapstick by Kurt Vonnegut this morning, but I haven't had a chance to start it yet. Yeah, that's it. Oh my god, I'm sorry I've been talking for so long. I'm just gonna stop and tell you to go watch Supernatural. Supernatural, go watch it. It's amazing. But don't touch Dean Winchester because he's my boyfriend. Even though I said I was aromantic, I love Dean Winchester.